Good evening. We begin tonight with allegations that a Vancouver woman was left alone for 2 hours on a city bus after suffering a stroke. According to her, she was ignored when she first became disoriented, even after she became physically ill and the bus driver reached the end of the route. She was only helped, she says, when she literally threw herself on the floor. Tonight, the Coast Mountain Bus Company says it's investigating, and the woman's family is looking for both an explanation and an apology.
Some tea for you, if you want.
Nadine Laughlin is very happy to finally be home with her family after months in the hospital recovering from a massive stroke. Last June, she hopped onto the number 22 McDonald bus for a usual trip to work and almost immediately started feeling ill.
I started feeling ill about pretty much into in 5 minutes of the ride.
It turns out she had suffered a massive stroke. As the bus traveled on, she slipped in and out of consciousness while sitting right behind the bus driver. She hoped when the bus turned around in South Vancouver, the driver would help her.
So it was a certain turnaround spot, and I could see that there, the bus driver would get up, would tell everyone to get off the bus, but he didn't.
And he left the bus?
He left the bus, too.
Another passenger who saw Nadine says the symptoms were not obvious.
Symptoms of strokes don't show themselves, in an extreme way so that everyone would have known she was having a stroke. When I saw her, she didn't look like something physical was happening. She just looked a bit confused, lost, and a little bit distressed about the situation.
But she still wonders why the driver didn't check her at the turnaround. Instead, Nadine traveled from Kitsilano through downtown and south along Ninth Street to the turnaround, then all the way back on the same route. At some point, she vomited, and after trying to throw herself on the bus floor, she finally received help, ironically at the same point where she got on the bus.
It was the exact same place across the road. I had been on the bus for 2 hours.
You took an entire round trip of the circuit, yes, essentially.
Yeah.
The bus company says at turnarounds, drivers usually check for passengers and lost property before leaving their bus.
To be on a bus for 2 hours in distress, really something should have happened that would have prevented that.
Like that?
No, it can't.
How about
Nadine is now partially paralyzed. She's doing exercises and physio trying to get her life back. Speedy treatment is critical after a stroke. Instead, she had to take the long way home.
So you think that if she would have gotten attention earlier, that her deficits wouldn't have been so severe?
Try posing.
As the long rehabilitation continues, they only wonder, what if?
Okay, stretching it out.
The search for a suspect in the murder of 6 men, including 2 innocent bystanders, has spread to another North Surrey high-rise. Police have been combing the area looking for physical clues. But CTV's Lisa Rossington has some insight into what the motive for the Surrey massacre may have been. Lisa?
Well, Bill, police say this case is enormous. So big, in fact, they're comparing it to the Picton case because of the number of victims and police officers involved.
Criminals in Surrey are likely feeling the heat tonight. The place is crawling with cops. Over 100 officers are looking for the people responsible for a mass murder.
Citizens of Surrey can expect to see groups of police officers throughout the community in and around this area, probably about a 10-block radius. Do not be surprised.
Overnight, police descended on a second Surrey high-rise.
They carried in a great big assault rifle too. I don't know whether it was like a machine gun or what, but it was pretty scary looking.
Outside the Stanley apartment, squads of officers combed the property, searching everywhere for evidence.
Weapons, clothing, anything.
All this activity is directly related to the murders of 6 men just a few blocks away.
Deteriorating. I think it's just the drug problems that's everywhere.
And it's the drug trade that likely caused the violence. Almost 50 detectives are interviewing associates and friends of the men. There has been intense focus on their criminal history. 2 of the dead, Mike and Corey Lal, had problems with the law in the past. This is Mike Lal on vacation. Drug trafficking and possessing restricted guns were just some of the charges they'd faced. Surrey was their turf, and when 38-year-old Dylan Becker tried to cut in on the action, there was a shootout in this parking lot. It happened October 11th. Becker was killed. 8 days after that, Corey and Mike Lal were murdered. Police won't say if there is a connection between Becker and the Lal brothers.
Are the Lal brothers a suspect in the Dylan Becker murder?
You know, I haven't been able to be updated on the Becker homicide. Now, I can't answer that question. I don't know who is involved with that homicide.
No comment. You get out.
The Lal family wasn't talking. Police will likely need to sort out who Becker was working with, who were his associates, and was this a retribution killing?
And no arrests have been made. Flowers and a book of condolences has been set up here at the scene of the crime. One of the people who knew many of the dead is a man by the name of Kelly Merrigan. He is a Surrey defense lawyer. He represented Dylan Becker, Mike Lal, and Eddie Narong, all of whom are now dead. He is not talking. We have tried to speak to him for the past couple of days. He has refused to return our calls, Bill.